Breaking news. Benjamin Sesko has arrived at Old Trafford to a hero's welcome as Manchester United fans from around the globe gather to greet their newest star. Dressed casually with his bag over his shoulder, Sesko was seen entering the stadium alongside new manager Ruben Amorim, marking what many believe to be the start of a bold new chapter for the club. While the deal remains unconfirmed by the club, reports suggest a 5-year agreement is already in place. Newcastle United and Manchester United are in talks with RB Leipzig over the signing of striker Benjamin Sesko. Newcastle made their move on Saturday with an offer worth £69.8 million including add-ons. Discussions continue over the structure of that deal. There is no official bid from Man United yet. Their negotiations surround what they would be prepared to pay and how they would pay it. A decision on whether a formal bid goes in will be based on those talks. The Benjamin Sesko transfer saga, what's real and what's just wishful thinking? Picture this: you wake up, grab your coffee, and see a story claiming Benjamin Sesko has already arrived at Old Trafford to a hero's welcome. Fans are cheering, cameras are flashing, and Manchester United seems to have landed their dream striker. But wait, is this actually happening, or is someone getting a bit carried away? Let's dive into the real story behind one of the summer's most talked about transfer battles. Who is Benjamin Sesko anyway? Before we get into the transfer drama, let's talk about why everyone wants this guy. Benjamin Eko is a 21-year-old striker from Slovenia who plays for RB Leipzig in Germany. At 6 feet 5 inches, he's got the height to win headers, but don't let that fool you, he's surprisingly quick and has great feet for a big man. This season, Sesko has been turning heads across Europe. He can score with both feet, he's deadly in the air, and he has that rare ability to create something out of nothing. It's no wonder that top Premier League clubs are fighting over him. The tale of two stories. Here's where things get interesting. If you've been following transfer news lately, you might have seen two very different stories about Sesko. Story 1, the fantasy some reports paint a picture of Sesko already at Old Trafford, walking into the stadium with manager Ruben Amorim, greeted by thousands of excited fans. According to this version, a 5-year deal is practically done and dusted. Story 2, the reality: the actual situation is much less dramatic but far more complicated. Both Manchester United and Newcastle United are locked in serious talks with RB Leipzig. Newcastle has already put money on the table, a bid worth around £69.8 million including add-ons. Manchester United? They are still figuring out what they can afford and how they'd structure the deal. So which story should you believe? The second one, definitely. What's really happening behind the scenes? Let's break down the real transfer battle that's happening right now. Newcastle's move: the Magpies made their intentions clear over the weekend. They submitted a formal bid worth £69.8 million, including various add-ons and bonuses. That's serious money for a 21-year-old, showing just how much they rate the young striker. But here's the thing: Leipzig hasn't said yes or no yet. They are still discussing the payment terms and structure of the deal. Will Newcastle pay it all up front? Will they spread it over several years? These details matter more than you might think. Manchester United's approach: United's situation is more complicated. They haven't made an official bid yet. Instead, they are in what you might call exploratory talks. They are trying to figure out if they can actually afford Eko and how they would structure any potential deal. This might sound like United are being slow, but it could be smart business. Why rush into a bidding war when you can first understand what's possible within your budget? Why does everyone want Sesko? You might be wondering, what makes this young striker so special that two Premier League giants are fighting over him? First, he's already proven himself in the Champions League and Bundesliga. That's no small feat for someone who's barely old enough to legally drink in the United States. Second, he fits what modern football demands. He can press defenders, hold up the ball, run in behind, and finish with either foot. In today's game, strikers need to do everything, and Sesko seems capable of exactly that. Third, he's still young. At 21, he could potentially play at the top level for another 10 to 12 years. That's incredible value for any club willing to invest in him now. The money game. Let's talk numbers for a moment. A £69.8 million bid for a 21-year-old might seem crazy, but in today's market, it's actually quite reasonable for a player of Sesko's potential. Compare that to what clubs had paid for other young strikers recently. Darwin Núñez cost Liverpool around £85 million. Erling Haaland went to Manchester City for about £51 million, but that was with a specific release clause. When you look at it that way, £70 million for Sesko doesn't seem so wild, does it? What this means for both clubs. For Newcastle, landing Sesko would be a massive statement. It would show they are serious about competing with the biggest clubs in Europe. With their new ownership and growing ambitions, signing players like Sesko is exactly what they need to do. For Manchester United, United desperately need a reliable striker. They've struggled for goals at times, and Sesko could be the missing piece of their puzzle. Plus, getting him ahead of Newcastle would prevent a rival from strengthening significantly. So what happens next? Right now, it's anyone's guess. Newcastle has the advantage of having made an actual bid, but Manchester United might have the pulling power of being a bigger club with more history. RB Leipzig holds all the cards here. They can wait for the best offer, or they might decide to keep Sesko for another season. After all, he's under contract, and they don't have to sell if they don't want to. The next few weeks will be crucial. Transfer windows create their own pressure, and decisions that might take months in normal circumstances often get made in days when deadlines are approaching. The bottom line. Here's what we know for sure: Benjamin Sesko is a talented young striker that multiple top clubs want. Newcastle has made a serious bid, Manchester United is interested, and RB Leipzig is considering their options. What we don't know, where he'll end up, or if he'll move at all this summer. One thing's certain though, despite what some reports might suggest, Sesko hasn't signed for anyone yet. The transfer battle is very much alive, and football fans everywhere will be watching to see how this story unfolds. Until then, take those "done deal" stories with a grain of salt. In the transfer market, nothing's over until the player is holding up the shirt and smiling for the cameras. And even then, you might want to wait for the official announcement.